We got April 21st. April 21st. So this is just 6 days. Abraham Lincoln is going to get shot. Abraham Lincoln is going to get shot in the head, and they said that he shot him right in the back of the left ear. There was a big massacre where a bunch of people got shot in a mine 100 years ago in Colorado in the back of the left ear. What the hell is up with was it the Morletti decision? So you have Abraham Lincoln in 1865. The bullet entered behind Lincoln's left ear and passed through his brain, lodging in the front of his skull. Lincoln immediately slumped over in his chair. He was shot and killed right then and there. The gunshot startled everyone in the box. When Rathbone turned, Booth was standing in a cloud of smoke. Rathbone lunged at Booth, who dropped his gun and pulled out his dagger and stabbed Rathbone in the arm. As Booth prepared to jump down to the stage below, Rathbone grabbed at him again. Where the hell's Mary Todd? Just screaming? That's all I hear is that she's screaming. Rathbone's sitting there fighting with the guy. Why don't she get up and do something? I mean, she just saw her husband get shot and killed. She saw her son, get some sort of pneumonia and die. You're only in the presidency for 4 years, Mary Todd. Your son died. Your husband died. Jesus Christ, are you the worst? First lady, and then you spend all that money on a bunch of outfits. And then you did all that religious, Thad dies and you do all that you summon the devil or some shit. What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing, Mary Todd? Booth's spur caught on the bunting adorning the presidential box and he fell awkwardly to the stage below, injuring his leg. Many in the audience of 1,700 people assumed it was all part of the play. Booth regained his feet. And he said, Sic semper or Sic semper tyrannis. He regained his feet and thrust the bloody knife into the air. Mary Lincoln and Clara Harris, they're screaming, piercing the air. Rathbone, holding his bloodied arms, shouted down, "Stop that man!" The military officer in the audience, Major Joseph Stewart, immediately clambered over the orchestra pit. Pursued the assassin. Booth limped across the stage toward a side door, stabbing the orchestra leader when he tried to stop him. Once in the alley, he pushed past Joe Burrows, pulled himself up on his horse, and sped away. So what's crazy, and then Mary Todd's like sitting around, outside waiting for the verdict of what happens with Lincoln. No, he's dead. They declared it, 7:22 a.m. the next day, and we're supposed to believe that his vitality and his strength, his internal conviction, his principles, his strong principles is what kept him alive for another 10 hours. But he was slumped over immediately. He was dead as soon as he fucking shot him. He shot him in the head and he died right then and there. And he shot him in the back of the head like the fucking coward that he is. Shot him in the back of the head. Lincoln didn't even know he was there. And if that's, some consolation, Lincoln probably didn't even feel it. Or he felt it for a half a second before. I don't know, maybe he did feel it for 8 hours or 10 hours or something. But Mary Todd, after they said, well, Lincoln's dead, she was like, well, you guys were acting like it was possible. I didn't even know he was dying. Motherfucker, he was dead when right there next to you fucking piece of shit. Lewis Powell, Dr. Mudd, Mary Surratt, Atzerodt. This Atzerodt guy, so they're going to kill 3 people, right? They're going to kill the Secretary of State. Was it Seward? Something, Seward Thomas, Seward, William Seward or something. They're going to kill the president, vice president, and then they're going to kill the Secretary of State. And I thought it was actually, I thought it was more smart. I was like, a Confederate thought of that? But that's actually not as smart as I once thought it was, because if they killed the president, vice president, and the Speaker of the House, well, that's the 3 in line. Those 3 are in line for the presidency. Then that would put the United States government into a state of chaos. But the Secretary of State, you sent Lewis Powell to go kill the Secretary of State? I mean, that definitely puts a monkey wrench in the machine, but it doesn't stop the machine. And Lewis Powell was the one that was actually He was a Confederate soldier. So Lewis Powell had killed a bunch of people. So killing another, a public official, if anything, that made more sense. Instead of throwing a bunch of poor peasants and having to cut through a bunch of poor peasants. He also read that his colleagues were being arrested one by one. Mary Surratt and Lewis Powell. Even Samuel Arnold and Michael O. Laughlin were arrested, though they were not involved in the assassination plot. Things were going as he had planned on April 21st. It was time for John Wilkes Booth and Herold to move. They were now on foot. David Herold. After reaching the swamp, David Herold shot both of their horses, fearing they might draw attention to them. Jesus Christ. Well, thank you, they're a good horse. And then he shot and killed him. Like, that's not gonna... A dead horse is more weird than a wild horse running around. And that shows you how fucked they are. Well, now that we got you safe here in the swamp, thank you, horse, for getting us here. That's the thanks that they get. It is crazy. It seems like he's going to eventually get killed on the 26th. But it's already 6 days later. And so 11 days, it takes 11 days before John Wilkes Booth is finally caught. See, they're getting across the Potomac River. There's fresh horses. That night they pushed a small boat out onto the water, started to row. There was only a waning crescent moon for light, in the wide misty waters of the lower Potomac made it difficult to navigate. Pushed by the tide, Booth and Herold mistakenly headed upriver and landed not in Virginia but back in Maryland. As they jumped ashore, Herold said, "John, this is in Virginia. What do you mean? Where is it?" He peered into the darkness. I know this place. I've hunted down here before. Damn it, are we finished? I don't think so. The man who owns this land supports the cause. I think he'll help us. With Booth on his crutches, the two men made their way to the farmhouse. Though it was late, the old farmer greeted them warmly. "Well, I'll be damned, David Herold, as I live and breathe. It's a mite early for duck hunting, ain't it?" "Yes, sir. We ain't here for ducks. We're trying to get to Virginia and got turned around on the river. Can you put us up for one night?" The old man held up his lamp and studied John Wilkes Booth's face. "Mr. Booth, I presume." John Wilkes Booth tensed up. The old man laughed. "Don't worry. I'm not going to turn you in. What would I do with the $75,000 anyways? I'd buy more chewing tobacco and whiskey than I'd care to go through in 10 lifetimes. You're welcome here." "So you'll let us stay?" "Yes, sirree, boob. But in the morning I'll give you to my son-in-law, Colonel John Hughes. He'll get you pointed in the right direction." Booth asked cautiously, "Can he be trusted?" "Yes, sir, he can. He supports the cause, too." They spent the day hiding on Hughes's farm before crossing the Potomac that evening, the morning of April 23rd. Okay, so we're going to do that one later. April 23rd. Do we want to have any closing remarks? I'll just do this one here. You're going to see the execution of Lincoln's assassins, July 7th, 1865. Right, that famous picture right there. Now, it's important because you see 4 of them are hung, right? Mary Surratt is hung and Lewis Powell. And then that Herold is going to get hung. And then so is that Atzer, that German guy. They hung David Herold, Lewis Powell, George Atzerodt, and Mary Surratt. George Atzerodt was a German who was at the bar. He was supposed to kill Andrew Johnson, flaked the fuck out and left. Lewis Powell is sitting there stabbing the shit out of the Secretary of State. And Mary Surratt, Lewis Powell's going to say, "Oh, she didn't do anything," trying to, be Mr. fucking cordial. Clearly he had a crush on her. Clearly he was in love with her. But it was a good decision. It was her boarding house. They were meeting at her fucking place. They would pick up their stuff. She was a Confederate. She was a Confederate fucking piece of shit. And that was actually ordered by Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson's a piece of shit, but Andrew Johnson at least At first, July 7th, 1865, he knew what was up. He knew what to do. And then they said that Mary Surratt was the first woman ever executed by the U.S. government. Michael O'Laughlin, Samuel Arnold, Dr. Samuel Mudd were sentenced to life in prison. Edmund Spangler, the man Booth asked to hold his horse, was given a 6-year prison term. Damn. Damn. Can you hold this horse? That might get me 6 years, sir, mister. Although O'Laughlin died in prison of yellow fever, the other surviving conspirators were eventually pardoned by Andrew Johnson in 1869. Well, shit. Just wait 4 years later and then old Andrew Johnson will just give you a goddamn pardon, motherfucker. John Surratt goes to Montreal, Canada. And then he comes back later on, like 2 years. He's tried in a civilian court. He admitted to being involved in the kidnapping plot, but he had no role in the assassination. After 2 months, a mistrial was declared. He was released. He was the only one that escaped from the ordeal essentially unscathed. John Wilkes Booth is going to get shot in the neck. For all those that are like, man, that John Wilkes Booth, what a hero. What a hero of the South. You're going to get it too. And then all of his fucking friends got it too. So, yeah, I mean, he changed goddamn history. I don't know if it was definitely for the worse. Way much for the worse. Lee surrendered. Richmond was lost. The Confederacy was lost. The capital was gone. You only got some fucking George Johnston or something in North Carolina. Some fucking guy still like fighting the war in North Carolina. The war was over, so they were all celebrating. And that's why they shot him, because it was like, oh yeah, you think you're going to sit there and celebrate the victory of the war? And then Lee, right, the Union, it's incredible. You show more. Lee was let go, right? He was conquered, but they let that official walk away. He was conquered. He surrendered.